Dave Melinda here, Positive Polarity. Hope you are doing awesome. My question to you today is, when you think of the word conflict, what do you think of? What are the first things that come to your mind? When I ask the groups that I train on conflict resolution, when I ask them that question, like 98% of the people list words that are negative. War. They list things that are like stress. They list things that are negative. And not a lot of people are utilizing the positive side of conflict. Manipulation, threats, all these different things that people think of in their mind when they think of the word conflict. So I want to ask you, what do you think of when I say that word? Hopefully by the end of this time today, we're going to be able to talk through this, and you're going to be able to look at this conflict as potential very positive. Conflict in the workplace, like 85%, the statistics that I found, which blew my mind, right? 85% of employees deal with conflict of some kind. So that's why this is so important. And the vast majority of people actually don't get any type of training. 60%, they estimate, of the US workforce does not get any type of conflict resolution training, which is amazing because when they do, like 95% of the people that got that training, they said that it helped them resolve conflicts in a peaceful in a positive way. So I'm not going to necessarily, I have 6 great steps to resolve conflict. If you want those, feel free to shoot me an email, dave@positivepolarity.com. I'll be happy to respond to this video. I'll be happy to send those to you. We're not going to look at that. We're going to just really kind of unpack the positive and the negative side of this for you so that we can first of all get our minds to the positive side of conflict. Now, about half of conflicts that are happening in the workforce today, so let's say you're at work, on your way to work, whatever, the next time you're at work or the next time you're communicating with somebody and a conflict happens, like half of the time that happens, it's because of personality clashes. We have personalities, so this personality and this personality don't meet and boom, clash. They don't connect. And that's why I spend so much time talking about DISC assessments, because that's a great statistic right there. Half of the things that go on in the office related to conflict are because of personalities. So if I know somebody's personality in the office and I know how to communicate with them effectively because I've taken DISC and I've spent time with it, the chances of that conflict happening are greatly, greatly reduced. And so that's what I want to kind of unpack here with you today. The realization that, number one, we have to remember that conflict is going to happen. There's no real way around it unless you live by yourself, work by yourself, don't have any customers, don't have any vendors, don't have any support partners. You have nobody. If you're completely isolated, then you have a pretty good chance of getting by without conflict. That's not how most of us are. Most of us live with people. Most of us work with people. And so we have to deal with conflict on a daily basis. So because of the fact that 85% of the time something's going on in the office, there is conflict for 85% of us. So I'm just going to say like 9 out of 10, just for simple math, 8 out of 10, whatever you want. 9 out of 10 people deal with conflict. The question is, moving into the conflict, the big, hard question is really what's more important. And this is really a lot deeper than you think on the original surface, but I'm going to lay it out for you as best that I can. So what's more important to you? the outcome of this or the relationship. So let's just say we have a conflict with somebody at work and we are holding our ground and they're holding their ground. This goes on all the time. I spent 20 years in conflict resolution, mediation, arbitration with a local association, arbitrating, mediating between people that could not talk to each other. So I've got extensive experience in this. And the hardest question really to ask yourself is, in this situation, what's more important, the relationship or the outcome? Because if the relationship is more important, I am much more likely to be open and give in and find a compromise. You can actually find a win-win scenario in this conflict resolution. It's hard because our brain goes, we want to go emotional. We don't want to listen. We just want to jump in. We just want to justify ourselves. We want to go and do all these things. And the problem is that they don't promote a positive and constructive type of conflict. So I want to look at these two real quick. Destructive conflict. Somebody that's not flexible, somebody that wants to manipulate, wants to threaten. Now, the opposite is they might shut down. When we see a conflict, people either move towards that conflict or move away from the conflict. So that's first question is, what are you? When you find conflict, do you move away from it or do you move towards it? And neither one's necessarily right or wrong unless you're first responders. Do you know, it's so amazing to watch first responders run towards danger when everybody else is running away. Our natural instinct is to run away. So when there's conflict in the office, it's not unnatural for you to walk away, to back away, to move away. The reality is you have to determine if that's the smartest thing to do for yourself or not. So conversely, the constructive conflict, you can still not agree. You still have people that don't agree. But the difference is the relationship stays intact. It stays there. The relationship is more important than the outcome. I'd much rather settle this with you than win the argument and lose the relationship. Hopefully you're at that spot. Specifically, if you sell something, that's like the kiss of death for a customer-vendor relationship if you're more interested in the outcome than you are actually the relationship. Hopefully, the relationship always rules. In constructive criticism, it's healthy. Two people are equal. Did you ever notice in conflict, there's always like somebody's trying to be one up each other? So I say something about you and you have to respond and say something about me. You think I do that, you do this worse. Or do you think I do this, you do this. There's always this tendency to do that. And the problem with that is, again, we're trying to maintain a posture of position rather than our relationship. And it's really difficult. So when I sit across from people, and I've done this multiple times in my career, I'm the referee and there's somebody on one side and somebody on the other. And a lot of times they can't even look at each other. And we have to find some common ground. And again, when I go into those 6 steps, you'll definitely have that help there. But again, email me if you want those. But we want this to be equal. If there's not equality in conflict, there's always going to be that tendency to pull the trump card. I'm the owner. I can do the trump card. I'm the owner. I'm your manager. I'm your boss. I'm this. I'm that. I have a higher position of authority. As soon as you get into that you go right back into the destructive conflict. So as we kind of start to land this plane, I hope that that's helpful. I want to just give you some tips to be able to cognitively think. If you're in conflict, think about these. remember, number one, it's going to happen. 85% of us deal with it. So it's going to happen. So don't be shocked when it shows up. Be prepared and ready and able to deal with it. Secondly, is to make sure that you resolve it quickly. Okay, there's really a lot of power in resolving it quickly. If I offend you, or let's say you offend me, and then I don't do anything about it, and then like a month later I come and say, hey, do you remember a month ago when you did this, this, and this to me? That really bothered me. It's really hard, number one, to keep the facts straight. It's hard to even get any type of fixture out of that, any type of, repair work done, because I don't remember it. And even if I do, why didn't you bring it up then? So let's work on resolving it quickly. If it happens and you are the type that avoid conflict like the plague, still do your best to resolve it quickly. The third thing, which I think is equally important, all these are really important. This one, though, it comes up a lot. We need to focus on the problem, not on the person. It's really easy for us to focus on the person. You're this, you're that, you don't do this, you always do that. When you hear always and never, those are really strong words. And be careful with those words. And make sure that you listen through this. Make sure that you initiate repair. Make sure that you're the one that's starting to try and mend that relationship. And as we said before, don't avoid this. There's no reason to avoid this. And the best part of it is if you can go non-emotional, you'll be able to do a much better job of successfully navigating conflict. So, planes in for a landing. Just want to remind you, number one, conflict's going to happen. Do your best to resolve it quickly. Focus on the problem, not the person. Make sure that you listen. Please do not formulate your response too soon. Allow the person you're talking to fully develop their thought before you jump in and try and fix it. Very often we interrupt others, and that's a whole nother topic. But in this conflict resolution piece, just remember, this is going to happen. And ask yourself the next time you're in it, what's more important, the relationship or the outcome? Let me know how you do. Be happy to answer any questions for you. Dave Melenda, Positive Polarity. Make it a positively awesome day. Take care.